Before we start the show, let me thank you for clicking onto this video. If you'd like to see more videos like these, why not subscribe and hit the bell button so you'll never miss an episode. Now, on with the show.
One mark will be vehicle 6. Comprised of warrior women.
Hi friends, I'm LJ Jarvis, and welcome back to Will's Jarvis Show.
Greetings, everyone. Welcome back to On Air with Jarvis, the podcast of all things Warhammer and general stuff I find of interest. Join us today is the man of fine arts himself, Drunken Remembrancer. How's it going, sir?
Going good. I hope you're doing well yourself.
I'm doing good at my end, though I'm doing my exam next month, so I'm basically at DEFCON 2 at my end.
Okay, I see. In terms of preparation, right? I'm guessing this is something related to work, right? How much do you have to study? Do you have to go to any courses or any of the sorts?
So, for that, I basically, did my years of college because the whole idea in my field of work, because to those who don't know, I'm in the automotive field, so mechanic, if we're using simple words. So, you do your apprenticeship, then you go to 3 years of college. Then after that,
Mm-hmm.
you need to get your logbook filled out on certain jobs you have to do.
Okay, I see.
So do suspension work, do brake work, transmission work. And once all that's done, and once you have the experience on that, or in this case, then you hand in your book, then you can take your exam.
You get paid for this, right?
The apprenticeship, of course, yeah.
Nice. So is this, I guess, can you consider this trade school?
Oh, it's a trade.
Oh, it's trade school then. Yeah, nice.
Yeah, and
Well, good luck. Good luck on your examination. I know how that feels. I had previously I had a job that's kind of similar in that sense.
yeah, and I remember you sharing a few photos of that, and it's like I am curious as to what that exactly was.
Oh, okay.
If you don't mind me asking.
Should be fine. Let's see. The picture you're referring to would most likely be that one picture of me dangling on a on a scaffold in this pitch black environment. Yeah.
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm referring to. Yeah.
Yeah, that was the inside of a giant boiler in a hydroelectric plant. I used to work for a small company that's contracted to bigger companies for example, Shell, right? Like giant petroleum or maybe energy companies like the hydroelectric plant. I do what's referred to what you would call it, non-destructive testing. So essentially, I'm there to check the how do I say this? My brain is melted right now. But essentially, you're supposed to check for integrities of pipelines and well points and stuff like that, and that's what I used to do, I guess. Yeah, I used to be a technician on that.
Oh, that sounds interesting, and for some reason, it makes me think of the crew in Chernobyl. The kind of work they do,
Yeah,
or in a TV
that's
show,
fair. That's fair.
or at least in the
That's
TV
fair.
show. In the TV show, at least.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and now you get to do art all day, making some fine girls, if I may say so politely.
Thanks. Yeah, I do. I do enjoy the change in environment, I guess.
Mhm. Yeah, and I do have to say though that basically everyone in the Warhammer circle will know you for your art pieces, especially when it comes to
Oh
Warhammer girls.
no! Don't say that. Don't say that. Now you're making me blush. I don't think I'm that prolific yet. At least I don't think so. The idea of being that prolific, being that known, kind of scares me to some extent, I guess.
Where it's almost like too much exposure in a way. Yeah, where
Uh, I don't want to sound like I don't want to sound like I'm ungrateful of being known or having supporters or anything. But from someone like me who's born from a small little fishing island with just a few thousand people there, it is a bit overwhelming, I guess, when you put things in perspective.
I see. And Actually, my first introduction to you would actually be that Tech Marine art you did like a year or two ago.
Oh, you mean the what you call it? The the Primaris Zoomer meme that I did?
Exactly, that's what I'm referring to. Yeah, where it's like, so I
Yeah,
told this guy that his femboy Drukari are cringe and only for soy boy bear cucks,
yeah.
whereas the Doomer
I,
Krieger GF and Tech Priest mommy is completely based.
yeah, I remember that. I remember that. It's like one of the first comic, quote unquote, I guess. If you look at it, you can't really call it comic because all the different panels are like hand drawn and it was so sloppy. But at the time, it was like a fun one. I recall like having a lot of fun with it.
And and if I'm right, something like that when you made that comic, didn't that like take over overnight? If I'm correct, you saying something
Oh
about that
yeah,
once?
it very much. I wouldn't say launched me into overnight fame or anything, but it did make me a bit more known. And people's that was like the first comic that people started like voice acting and putting it on YouTube or something, and it was a bit overwhelming at the time.
Yeah, and a story like that sort of reminds me of that one writer who wrote "I Have No Mouth and Must Scream," because he wrote that story overnight, and yet that's one of his most popular stories that people remember him for. Something,
Oh, okay, I didn't know that. That's very interesting.
yeah, it's like it's one of those situations where it's like an artist will create something that or that they don't put too much thought into, or it's like, yeah, this is just going to be a small little piece I'll do for now, then do something bigger down the line. But it's
Mm.
that small piece that makes their momentum, if that makes sense.
Oh, yeah, yeah, definitely. I do think it was good in the sense that it made me more comfortable to do some silly stuff and just enjoy myself while growing. I didn't at the time I didn't focus too much on PR or the most growth I'll get on this or that. I just did it for fun, and I think that was really a good thing to have happened to me.
And if you don't mind me saying, the dialogue from the Tech Marine, it did sound like something a Zoomer political channel would do, or even Gamza.
Yeah, yeah. I was just having fun with it. Yeah.
Will you say that's where the inspiration for that dialogue came from such
Uh,
channels?
I wouldn't actually. No, I wouldn't say it. I wouldn't say I had it. I had the inspiration from anywhere in particular. I was just thinking of the myriad of weird, uh, weird slangs that originated around that time. I thought like let me like make something entirely nonsensical out of it, and so that's what I did.
Yeah, and it's just what's funny is that there's still people today who are like in their late 20s who still talk like that, and it's like, what are you doing, dude?
Yeah, yeah. It's part of the zeitgeist, right? That's what it is.
Mhm.
Uh, yeah.
Yeah, because I was watching one of Gamza's videos once, just out of curiosity, because I haven't heard of him or heard from him in like a little while. And he was
Hmm.
doing one of those Doomer 40K videos where it's like 40K is doomed. This new trailer dooms
Oh yeah.
40K.
Yeah, yeah. It's just I sort of feel like that sort of kicked off. Like that type of video seems to have kicked off a lot back around like what you would call Warhammer Plus, I think.
Definitely around Warhammer Plus, like people starts. Okay, with Warhammer Plus, that's sort of different. It's when Games Workshop was being too greedy, saying, "Okay, we're going to try to tighten the grip on the community," but
Yeah,
then the community like kicked them in the balls, basically, saying, "Remember who feeds you."
yeah, yeah. Essentially, it happened around the time where hating GW became it became like the in thing to do.
But I don't know. It's like people who still, I don't know. When it came to like games on that particular video, I was like, "Oh, dude, shut up." When he was using, it's just when he was using words like "soy boys only collect primaries and don't eat steak," and it's like, "Ah, shut the fuck up, dude."
That's just kind of silly. I can't really tell because I don't watch videos from Gamza or anything, right? So I'm just like going off what you're saying right now, of course. But yeah, I wouldn't say. he's wrong in any egregious sense, but it's just kind of annoying, kind of cringy, I guess.
That's exactly what it's like. I'm not a subscriber of his. It's just that, when I see people still talk like that, like even outside of YouTube, it's like, dude, no one talks like that in real life.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair.
But yeah, I gotta say, you really do make good art pieces, as said before. So,
Thanks.
from all this, actually, I am curious as to where this passion came from and what got you into doing the sort of stuff you do.
Let's see. I think it's been like a learning process. It's been like a gradual shift from things. I used to back when I started drawing, right? When I first had like a presence on the internet, I didn't really do not safe for work art. I just did silly comics or like risque stuff, I guess.
Mhm,
But that just slowly, over time, I just became more comfortable in doing not safe for work stuff.
mhm.
But at the same time, I didn't want to stop entirely doing like the silly comics or the silly stuff that I used to do. So I think it's uh, that gradual shift that helped me foster a community, a following that is really fine with me either doing silly stuff or doing like the really lewd NSFW pinups or whatever.
Mhm.
So I'm thankful for that at the very least. But I've always had an interest in drawing, I guess. That just slowly 40K became my obsession at some point, I guess.
Yeah, and yeah, because when it comes to like these art pieces, what I especially like, if you don't want me to talk about my preferences, is that where it's like showing like the gals with like the cake thick thighs and it's like thigh high
Hmm.
squeezing them in.
Hmm.
It's like that's a man of fine taste.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh, give me like 20 seconds. I'll take a drink. Okay, sorry about that.
Oh, no problem, no problem. But yeah, when it comes to like these pieces too, especially like your Warhammer ones, you can definitely see the inspiration in them. So I am curious as to like your first exposure to Warhammer and what made it stand out to you compared to other settings.
Um, I guess the first real, I guess you could say 40K has always been quite popular on the internet. You'll see them randomly. You can like scroll through stuff, and you'll see like a Warhammer piece, a Warhammer art. So it's always been kind of there. I always kind of knew it was there, but it never really stoked any interest in me until I saw the Dawn of War games, especially the Dawn of War Ultimate Apocalypse mod.
Oh yes,
It just
yes.
introduced a bevy of 40K stuff, and particularly it was the Lehman Russ variants. I think in the Ultimate Apocalypse mod, it had like 11 Lehman Russ models, like different models with like different guns. And I just thought it was the coolest thing back then. So yeah, that was my first exposure into 40K, I guess.
Yeah, this is something I bring up from time to time too. In these podcast episodes, is that Dawn of War has done such an excellent job on bringing in new people to the circle.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, those games are very inspired and a lot of fun too, even though I never got to play one. And,
Oh, I see.
despite me never playing Dawn of War game, they have motivated me into painting blood ravens.
Ah, I see.
Yeah, I'm having a lot of fun with that though. Again, because of this exam, I have to put those to the side for now.
I can imagine. Yeah, I can imagine.
Because, what's something that people don't understand is that, well, I have a job. I have a job that I have to clock into.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, especially with your pieces, especially one of your original characters that I see you make from time to time when it comes to the town
Hmm.
ambassador, if that's the appropriate word to call her.
Oh,
He's
is that like the one with the white hair and like the
exactly, yeah.
ponytail thing? Oh, okay, yeah. Okay, what about her?
Yeah, so when it comes to characters like her, especially with other Tau pieces that I do from time to time, I am curious as to your honest opinion on the Tau, besides getting to make art on them.
Okay, well, I think a lot of people say that they're too noble bright or whatever. I don't personally see that. They do have their own skeletons in their closet, with the whole mind control pheromone thing.
Oh,
I
they
think
definitely
as
do.
a
They definitely do.
yeah, I think as a faction, I think they're perfectly fine at 40K. I think they make their home, they have their little niche. Uh, they're sort of a optimistic race, I guess, because of how young they are, compared to humanity. That's a very grungy and intolerant race, or like the Eldari, who are usually a very, fatalistic race, even at the best of time. At the best of times. So yeah, I do like that they sort of became this optimistic elements in 40K, even if it's in a very, very, very flawed way. Yeah, I think that's my basic opinion on them.
And if I'm right, you were like the and if I'm right, when it comes in this certain situation, is that when you were doing like Tau art on them, when it comes to your character and other
Mhm.
pieces with original characters, eventually got to the point where there was like a guy or two that messaged you, "Hey man, just do Tau art, just do Tau, give me more Tau," and it's like that kind of annoyed you, if I'm right.
I wouldn't say annoyed because I always try to be thankful for where I am. Again, coming from somebody who was yeah, who's like working uh, on like scaffolds with dubious safety qualities to being comfortable getting to draw as a living. I try not to be annoyed by these. Like maybe initially I'll get annoyed if I have a bad day and I open up my DMs and I see something like this. I'll get like annoyed. But once I cool down, once I think it over a bit more, I always try to be more thankful. These are people who, like my art. They are potentially people who will be supporting me or are already supporting me. So I try my best not to be annoyed by these. But at the same time, I don't let these opinions sort of mess or influence what I want to draw. Like, yeah, I do like a good Tau piece today, and it gets quite a bit of traction. It doesn't mean I want to keep drawing Tau piece for the next month or so. I'll draw what I want if it tickles my fancy. I'll draw more Tau if I have like an idea or so. That sort of stuff. I don't want to draw something because it's popular, right? That's sort of how I go with things, I guess.
Yeah, and it makes sense too that makes sense too because say if you were a musician making music, you don't want to keep making one type of music, if that makes sense.
Yeah, you wanna in order to keep a job like this fresh, uh, you just want to be able to uh, sort of chase after what you want. Which again, I definitely was able to build a community that's tolerant of my own endeavors, which again I'm just really thankful for.
Because especially in this sort of field, you got to be flexible with your talent and
Mm.
stuff.
Yeah, definitely.
Because there will be a thing where a YouTuber will get very popular in the beginning, but eventually his traction starts to slow. Eventually his channel's
Mhm.
in, purgatory because
Um,
he keeps making the same kind of stuff.
Yeah,
Yeah, and it's like, he got popular when he was like, I don't know, 18 or his 20s, but then like 5 or 10 years later, he's sort of like stuck with it, but he doesn't know
yeah,
how
pretty
to,
much.
flex with it.
Yeah.
It's like, I don't know what to tell you, man. It's like, do you really expect to make videos until you're like 50 or
That's
the
fair.
same kind
Yeah,
of videos?
yeah, yeah.
But especially one of the pieces that I find interesting besides the Tau is that um, what looks to be like a homebrew Eldar character set, if that's the appropriate thing to call them.
Oh yeah, I guess you can. They don't really have like proper lore or anything. I just draw them for fun. I've always had like a thing for like neon colors and such. So I just try to put that into like what I draw. I guess it's homebrew in that sense, but it's mostly just a I think you can call it like a gag faction, a gag, a joke craft will. There's nothing serious behind it, I guess.
Um, sorry, I don't know what Gaillon means. Can you explain to me?
Pardon, sorry.
Sorry, you used the word like gaon when it came to the.
Oh no, sorry. I mean like a gag, as in like a
Oh,
joke
okay.
characters.
Maybe I misheard something. My bad.
Yeah, maybe.
But yeah, yeah, it is an interesting like idea that you made, and of course, it is a sort of gag thing in your comic world, if that's an appropriate thing to say.
Mhm. Yep.
Yeah, where they're ridiculously horny, if
Yeah,
is
pretty
that
much.
appropriate.
That's pretty much yeah. They're just a faction to have fun with, and they fit a certain style that I like, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, just again like the neon colors, neon robes, yeah, stuff like that.
Oh,
I
neon.
guess.
That's what I meant to say. Neon colors.
Yeah, yeah.
But yeah, 40K is everyone's bread and butter, of course. But from time to time, I like to return to things like Warhammer Fantasy and AOS, and
Hmm.
especially for fantasy, especially when it's like coming back to the tabletop scene after games like
Oh
Total
yeah,
War.
yeah. Hmm.
Um, so when my bad, sorry guys. So when the game eventually does come back, and we're going to see probably more nations like Cathay explored more. And
Hmm.
if I remember correctly, you did give your opinions on Cathay because you weren't so interested in their presentation, if I'm correct.
Yeah, I wasn't really happy with how uh, Creative Assembly uh, did them, I guess, especially coming off the backs of them. Just the most recent project before Total War Warhammer 3 was Total War 3 Kingdoms, which I think was a pretty good series, I think.
Mhm.
So seeing the inspiration, the creativity in that, and then them moving to the Warhammer universe, Warhammer fantasy universe, and then it being less than inspired. I guess I don't want to be like too cruel or too unfair to them. It was just a bit disappointing, I guess.
Where it's not sort of like one of those situations where they had a really cool idea, but the but they didn't really use all that potential, if that's appropriate to say.
I would say that they as a faction, Cathay right now feels this very vanilla. I guess
Okay.
I really dislike how they play, especially compared to the other factions uh, that were introduced on launch, right?
Mhm. What I would say about Cathay though is that um, even though the inspiration hasn't been used to its full extent, I don't think it's so uninspired where they're comparable to Space Wolves because the Space Wolves are very uninspired. Me and Batcher were like talking about that in the last episode.
Oh, okay, I see. I don't really care for Space Marines, and occasionally I'll try to read up on them or read like a novel regarding them. But as an entire faction, I don't really pay attention to them. So why would you feel that way about like the Space Wolves? I guess.
So the whole purpose of me bringing this up is that Badger brought up a good point that the Space Wolves had the potential and idea that's wide as an ocean, though the opportunity that he used is shallow as a puddle. So
Hmm.
the meat of it or the gravity of it that Games Workshop could have done for the Space Wolves isn't there, and the Space Wolves come off more as Viking cosplayers than actual space Vikings. Because
That's fair.
they always mention wolves, and it's like, guys, there's a lot more that goes to being a Viking than what's in Swedish
Yeah,
metal
that
bands.
is kind of silly. That is kind of silly, I guess.
But but the whole purpose of this is that for Cathay, what I did find interesting is that in the initial trailer that they showed them off, we got to see them using
Hmm.
more gunpowder weaponry.
Hmm.
And if I'm correct, gunpowder was discovered in medieval China, if I'm right.
I think it's much earlier than medieval, but yeah, I think you're right. You said it's discovered in China.
Hmm. So the fact that we got to see Cathay use them, use them more, what am I trying to say? Taking more advantage of gunpowder weaponry when compared to, say, nations like the Empire, I find that idea to be very cool. and probably
Yeah, it
explains.
is.
Yeah, and it would explain why the Empire has gunpowder weaponry and where they got the
Yeah,
inspiration from.
yeah, that's fair.
And obviously, you like that Tao one, not Tao, that one Cathay character, the girl that turns into the dragon.
Oh, you mean Miao Ying? Yeah, I think I really like as character, like character design. I like her as from like a lore perspective. I think she's pretty cool.
Oh, she looks
Uh,
really cool. She looks really cool.
yeah, yeah. They just didn't give her a tail in human form. That kind of sucks, though.
Hmm.
It's just a big fluffy dragon tail. That would be nice. That would be cool.
Mhm.
Personal bias, of course.
And in that same game, we got to see her brother, in the same
Zhao
shirt,
Ming, yeah.
Zhao. Is that how you say it?
Zhao Ming, I think. I don't know. I don't know if there's like a Chinese translation, like a proper Chinese way to pronounce it. But yeah, it's like Zhao Ming. Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, and when they were first showed up, I was thinking they would make really cool models, and I already
Oh
think
yeah,
of
definitely.
I was already think of ideas of how they could do it.
Yeah, yeah, definitely.
And what his name, the Dragon Emperor, all especially of how he was
Something like
described in the end times. Yeah, that would make a really cool model, something comparable to say the Silent King being like enormous on the tabletop.
oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah,
It
but
would be interesting to see if they sell it in like if they sell them in like two different models. Are they like able to switch between human and dragon forms and like tabletop too? That would be interesting to see, I guess.
yeah, because in AOS Morathi, there's actually two models in her kit. There's like her normal form, then there's her
Hmm.
giant Medusa like form.
Okay, I see. Interesting.
So if they do something like this for those characters, I think that'd be very cool to see.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I guess the reason why I have such an interest in Cathay is because in the Gotrek and Felix books, they frequently do mention them, where it
Oh
sounds,
really? Okay.
yeah, interesting enough, yeah, of how often they reference the nation and what comes from a nation that Felix will notice. Not gi-
Ah, I see.
not to give any specific examples, mind you, but
Hmm.
the the whole point being that it sounds like such a far away nation, yet it's so far away enough and so fantastical to them that it almost sounds like its own fantasy world.
Ah, yeah, that's fair. That's fair.
Yeah, and that sort of does tell you just how big a planet is. Despite how in
Hmm.
science fiction settings they are basically like a landscape, basically of how sci-fi would portray planets. You know, planets are big, and our Earth is big. And when it came
Yeah,
to something,
it does sort of it. I guess like it does a good job in showing perspective, right?
oh, exactly that. Because people and say the Romans, because if I'm correct, there was this one video I saw in which it was talking about like relationships between Romans and one of the dynasties in what would be modern day China. Is that
Yeah.
they knew that each other existed, but because they were so far away, there was never any real interaction with one another.
Oh yeah, yeah. I remember seeing that video.
Yeah, maybe we're talking about the same kind of video.
Probably, yeah.
Yeah, so the fact that that something like that was done for Warhammer Fantasy, again with the Gotrek and Felix books, I find that to be very cool.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
But what I will say about Cathay though, besides the Lugma, the sort of dragon horses,
Hmm.
is that we never got to really see like a Kieran.
I guess we'll see it in like a DLC. But in terms of like Kirin, at least in like the Chinese culture, I think it's similar to that of Phoenix. I guess like uh, very loosely, of course, but it kind of looks like a Phoenix, I guess.
I don't know because from what I read about them and from how they look to me, they do sort of look are basically what apologies. They are basically what we would see
Oh,
as a
wait,
unicorn.
sorry. I think I got that messed up with something else. Sorry.
Oh, no
I think
problem.
like Shilin was like something else. Sorry, my bad.
Yeah, no problem. Because basically, they are like a Chinese version of a unicorn. Yeah,
Kinda, I guess.
kinda, sort of. Just to very oversimplify
I,
things.
I guess if you want to give like a rough visual reference to somebody who doesn't know what it is, you can say, yeah, it's like a Chinese unicorn. Guess.
Yeah, I guess for the audience, so envision a sort of deer. It has like a lion's mane and maybe some antlers. It's That's basically what a Kieran looks like, visually. But
Yeah, pretty much.
it is sort of like a Chinese version of a unicorn, just to very
Go
oversimplify things.
go look it up. By the way, go to Google, look it up, and see like the cute little statues that they have. They made like a little like a chibi versions of them where they look like really fat. It's kind of adorable. Just go look it up, I guess.
Yeah, but the whole point of that is that I remember there was this White Dwarf magazine. Well, I never read
Hmm.
it, but I found it on Twitter, in which it sort of showed a fan's, homemade army of Cathay, where he sort of
Oh, I see.
where he sort of took like some models from here and there and created something new out of it. And from that he
Ah, I see.
created, Cathay.
Hmm.
And one of the most interesting things that he did was that he basically created what is basically a Cathayan lord on a Kieran.
Oh, I see. That's interesting.
Yeah, and I found that idea to be very cool, and I was sort of disappointed that we didn't get to see that within the game.
I guess we can just say like I guess for CA, of course, they're doing this under the strict supervision of like GW, right?
Yeah, because I would think that GW will have like a say in how Cathay would be done, since it
Oh,
is
yeah,
sort of,
absolutely,
yeah, because it is their
absolutely.
world.
So I guess it maybe doesn't fit what GW is going for Cathay as a faction.
Hmm.
I'm not sure. We'll just have to wait and see what the DLC brings whenever it comes out. I have no idea when it's going to come out for like Cathay.
But but that would definitely make a cool model, though. I think,
Yeah, definitely, definitely.
because in other nations in the Warhammer, we get to see like lords and barons run on griffins, on unicorns, on hippogriffs,
Mhm.
and then like Kislev, we got
Yeah,
to see them riding polar bears. Why not have like a Cathian lord on a Kieran? That idea just sounds
yeah,
so
that's true.
appropriate.
That does sound kind of neat.
Hmm. But besides games like Total War, like I don't play Total War because my computer just doesn't have the engine to run it. Um,
Ah, I see. I just play it on and off, so I can't give you like the uh if you ask me like what's wrong with Cathay from like a gameplay perspective, I can't give you like a very sort of like min max approach or like how to or like game balancing sort of way. I can just give you like a rough opinion of what I have, I
oh,
guess.
yeah, sure, go ahead.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, like that's just it. I can't give like somebody who's how do I say? I can't give like a perspective for somebody who's very good in gameplay or anything. I can just give like this is just my personal view of Cathay, I guess.
Hmm. Of course, and I think I remember one of your criticisms is that Cathay didn't get to use heavy artillery or something like that, if I'm correct, or
I think it was like Horse Archer. I was like kind of pissy
horse
about it
archer.
because
That's right. That's right.
because they uh I think when the first Total War Warhammer game came out, the Empire had like these they had like the Pistoliers right on launch, I think. So I think it was kind of I think it was kind of I was just a bit salty that they didn't that Cathay didn't come out with like a skirmisher unit, I guess.
Mhm.
Especially since they have the yin yang system, and they have the yin yang system for their cavalry too. But there's no, they got the melee cavalry. They don't have any range cavalry or skirmishers. So I think it was kind of weird.
Yeah, it does sound weird, especially like how you said earlier that this is from the same studio that made the Three Dynasties Total War game.
Yeah, yeah. They made the Three Kingdoms, and that game had like horse archers. There's a special unit of horse archer for like a particular general in that game, I think. So yeah, it was a bit disappointing not to see horse archers. Maybe I'll see more. We'll see more down the line, but again, I don't know what CA or GW has in store for Cathay as a faction.
Mhm. I think it would be appropriate to say that even if they didn't have the greatest of starts when it came to like the games, at least they can learn from this when it comes to future projects, if that's appropriate to say.
Hopefully, yeah, hopefully.
Yeah, but yeah, again, I just don't play games like Total War because for one, my laptop doesn't run those sort of games. But
Yeah, that's fair.
But what I do find interesting, actually, in comes to Warhammer games, is one that's coming out soon for like PS4 and 5, being Boltgun. If you've heard news of it,
Oh yeah, I heard of it. Is it not coming out for PC?
I would think it's coming for PC as well.
Yeah, I feel like it's gonna come out on PC. It would be kind of silly to not to make like a Doom game, a Doom inspired like a traditional like an original Doom inspired game without putting it on like PC, I guess.
Of course, because of the history of Doom,
Yeah, basically.
Yeah, here's the funny thing. When I first saw it, I thought to myself, "Oh, is this just going to be a mobile game?" Because it looks like a mobile game.
No, I don't think so. Although I wouldn't be surprised if they did that, huh?
Yeah, but the whole point of that is that I thought at initial glance that was a mobile game, but when I found out that it was more of an aesthetic because it was going to be like a 1990s Doom-like game, I was like, "Oh, this makes sense now."
I see. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, that makes sense, I guess.
Yeah, especially when you get to actually see some actual gameplay, I was like, "Oh, this looks really good. This looks really good."
Yeah,
Now I
it
get
feels like a fun little game. I don't imagine it will be too long,
Mhm.
but probably going to be like a good time waster.
Yeah, and it just looks really, really good. And from what we see from the development, it looks like it was very inspired because they got one of the, well, I don't know the history of the actor because I just don't know him too well, but he is a huge Warhammer fan, and Games Workshop actually got him to do some voice work in the game. So
Okay, I see.
yeah,
Interesting.
yeah. So it's like that
Who's the
sounds
actor?
really.
Sorry.
I can't really say his name. Let me see if I can look it up. Um, he's a British Indian actor who's really big within the acting sphere in Britain. But again,
Okay, I see.
what's his name? Let me look it up. Let me see if I can say his name right. Rao Koli. Sorry guys,
Okay.
sorry guys, I'm really bad with names.
Okay. Well, to be fair, I don't know who that is too. So my bad for making you go through all that trouble.
Oh, no problem. But I see him from time to time on Twitter, and he does seem like a very big Warhammer fan, like on scale with like Henry Cavill. So that's really cool.
Ah, I see. Yeah, that's nice.
Yeah, honestly, the Boltgun does seem like a really cool game, and I think I'll, if I get internet connection to my PS4, maybe I'll try playing it.
Yeah. Definitely looks like a fun game.
But yeah, I think we've reached a good point actually, where I can actually ask you some questions that people have asked of us, if you're interested.
Oh yeah, sure thing. Go ahead.
Sure thing.
Pardon, sorry.
Oh, sure thing. I'm just looking them up now. So
Oh, okay. Shit.
one of these being what I guess because obviously everyone would ask this question is that what would be your favorite Primarch?
Shit. I'm gonna be honest. I kind of like Gilliman. Like he's a boring character, quote unquote, right? But he seems to be the one with his with like his head on straight. He's not cool. He does have a cool gimmick. He doesn't have a tragic backstory. Yeah, but he's strong, dependable. Yeah, he comes back at 9:30 at night. Yeah, that sort of stuff.
And
I
if I,
kind of like Gilliman.
I'm an Ultramarines guy, and I gotta say, come on, guys, he's not the most boring character when it compares to his brothers, especially right now in 40K, because this is a guy, this is one of the Emperor's sons, who was, as far as we knew, or what we do know, he was put in stasis for 10,000 years, and to him, he was still in the 30K timeline. So when he woke up in the 40K one and seen what has become of his father's Imperium, he's like, "Oh crap, what has happened?"
Yeah, that's a fair way to look at things, and I do think Gilliman is definitely a bit more interesting in 40K now. He's much more tired. He's much more haggard. He's trying to put together the pieces of a really broken and a non-functioning empire. I do like that in a sense, I guess.
Yeah, where it's like he's trying to make sense to people that are very fanatic on religion that no one no one in his time believed in, you know?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, where he has to play along with it, because if he doesn't, then he can't really help them out, because they'll try to
Yeah,
ostracize him.
basically, it's a bit too big. The Imperium is a bit too big and too set on its beliefs and ways for him to make any meaningful change.
Mm-hmm.
So he has to work he has to work on a system that he kind of hates. Like it was everything that that the Emperor didn't want to happen. Now he has to work with it. He can't fix it because there's too many pressing matters to work on.
Mm-hmm. And as for another one of these questions, is that out of all of your characters, which ones are your favorite?
Let's see. I think one of them would be that one tech priest I have with blonde hair.
Oh, yes, the MILF tech priest. That's right, the MILF one.
Yeah, she has been like parts of my art for like a long time now. Ever since I switched to digital art, she was one of the first characters I designed, quote unquote. She had back in the day, she had like a really simple design, and then slowly over the years, things sort of evolved. She evolved. She evolved alongside my art. Every time I draw her, I get like much better with drawing mechanical parts, getting much better with drawing certain parts of anatomy. So I just enjoy her. I just enjoy her design. I guess she's a character that has she's been a part of my art journey, I guess. And the other one would be the Banshee guild that I have, mostly because I really like the color scheme I picked for her. I had a lot of fun with her, and she was one of my claims to fame, I guess. Like most of the other Eldar girls that I draw now, most of them have inspirations coming from her, and most of them have the amount of fame and traction that they have right now because of her original design. Yeah, so these are, I think, two of my favorite characters at the time.
Yeah, and I can definitely see the passion put into them. And
thank you.
And when it comes to, like, say, the tech priest MILF, it's like the sort of like meme comics you made of her, where she's, when she's seeing younger men and they're nervous around her, it's kind of like,
yeah,
it is sort of like a cougar amongst, along with a sheep, because it's like, bro, you're not ready for her. Because I don't know, it sort of like fits with that meme where it's like the 20-year-old says, "Oh yeah, I want a MILF girlfriend," and it's like, bro, you're asking to drive a hot rod. You're not ready for that.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
It's like she just has more experience. She has more experience, and she's going to be laughing at you.
Yeah, pretty much.
But the benefit is that she will buy you your Warhammer stuff.
Yeah, definitely. She's gonna buy all those. She's gonna buy you the new Lionel Johnson model if you want it.
But then again, it's a double-sided sword because people are going to think she's your mom.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. But yeah, those two are one of my favorite characters, and also I sort of learned how to color dark skin with that Eldar character of mine. So yeah, I have a lot of fun with her. I have a lot of fun with all the characters I draw, but these two in particular have been a part of my art journey for a long time.
Hmm. And that sort of like relates to me almost with my, the whole idea of my original character, the one with the Space Marine and fedora.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I just did that, to be part of a silly meme, of the online skeptic. Online skeptic wears fedora.
Ah, I see. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, but even if the meme is sort of like outdated, as in it's like it's not funny anymore,
Mm-hmm.
I think just the whole persona of the character and the look of the character and the whole idea of it, and the fact that I'm represented as that character,
Mm-hmm.
he has been part of my journey of making YouTube videos and podcasts.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, because in relation to your OCs and how they were basically part of your journey in creating art,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah. I get you.
And this is sort of like my question. When it comes that I'm curious about actually is that
Mm-hmm.
your frog persona.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I am curious as to the inspiration for that.
Uh, say like this profile picture that I have at the moment. It's actually from like an animated short, I think. If you're familiar with Cox and Crendor, like they have like a podcast, and then they have fans that do like little animations of them. So like I think this was like in one of the animated shorts for like 5 seconds, and I liked it so much that I just kind of used it as a profile picture. And as and down the line, I just decided, I didn't make it like a cute little mechanical frog, and yeah, that's about it, really.
Yeah, and I guess what I find funny about him is that he's sort of like a sort of plushy sort of character when
Oh
it
yeah,
comes to
yeah,
your
definitely.
other OCs.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, because it'll be something like your, Eldar characters squeezing him and he's like very nervous around her.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
he's just like a little mascot, I guess. I may be looking to make like a plush, an actual plush of him, like wink, wink, tap nose. Yeah, dropping subtle hints here. But yeah, I'm looking. I just enjoy him as like a little mascot that I have.
Yeah, and honestly, it is a very cool character, sort of little mascot, and I think the benefit is that it is like a simple design and simple look that it's almost immediately recognizable.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Mhm. Yeah, it is a cute character though, so I think you should stick
Thank
with
you.
it.
Yeah, yeah. I'm not gonna drop him anytime soon.
Mhm. But with that, I think we've reached the end of the episode. Is there anything you'd like to say before we call it in?
No, not really. Yeah, I don't really have anything to say. But if you're listening to me to like this episode, thank you. If you're from the Patreon, if you're like from my Patreon or from my Twitter or my Facebook, uh, thank you also for for like sticking around and just like listening to me talk. I know I'm a bit awkward because I don't really I don't really do talk shows or interviews, but I hope it has been at least enjoyable for you. Yeah, that's about it, I think.
And I'll definitely put his links down below in this video.
All right. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. And thank you everyone for being for like listening to this episode.
And if any of you enjoy this episode, then consider subscribing and activating the bell button so that you'll never miss an episode. There'll be another episode down the line. And until then, I'll see you around. Have a good one, guys.